Hello and welcome to the John Ark Show. Today's episode is called CrimeVasion. Before we begin, I want to encourage you to subscribe to our channel for free. Make sure to like, comment, and follow us. We're going to have a lot of great celebrity interviews coming up, so please click on the notification bell so you can be notified every time we upload a new episode. I'd also like to tell you about a service called Hollywood is Calling. It's a great service that allows you to purchase live phone calls from your favorite celebrities, so check them out. There are more than 100 celebrities to choose from, and the prices start out at just $19.95 for a live call. Give it a try. Buy a call for yourself or as a gift for somebody you care about. HollywoodIsCalling.com. Now, let's get started. There's a new criminal phenomena called CrimeVasion taking place in cities and states around the country. Sometimes it's organized by gangs and street thugs, and sometimes it happens in different ways. So what is CrimeVasion? CrimeVasion is a phenomenon where professional criminals will organize street criminals, drug addicts, and desperate homeless people to get them to swarm a geographic area and engage in so much robbery, burglary, and mayhem that it dramatically reduces the market value of the real estate in the area and destabilizes it completely. In some cases, it makes the property in that area unsellable. Now, given how systematic and overwhelming CrimeVasion has been in some areas, it's impossible to properly calculate the amount of damage and theft that is occurring. And quite frankly, it's so pervasive because it's clearly being orchestrated and pushed by larger criminal groups with very deliberate and focused agenda. It appears in different areas, but it's often overwhelming for the police and the residents and the business owners in the areas that are targeted by it. Here are some examples of CrimeVasion. On Chicago's Gold Coast, there are now times when as many as 100 teenagers will swarm an upscale store or block of stores, and they'll come up and grab hundreds of pieces of clothing right off the racks and walk out with it. Then they'll just go to the next store and then the next store. In a single CrimeVasion attack on one or more stores, they can literally steal 100, 300, or $500,000 worth of inventory and walk out the store, and their security and the police will do nothing. Whenever you see this happen, it's clear that the rule of law does no longer exist in cities like Chicago, San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York. It's just not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're just not enforcing the law. In fact, major shootouts now take place in some of the highest income areas, and they're caught on video, and there doesn't appear to be any police action or investigation at all, though the videos capture the license number of the cars and the people actually doing the shooting. There's no police follow-up. In cities like Chicago, where there is so little law enforcement, there are some people who feel completely abandoned by the police and the politicians. Now, in New York and Los Angeles and San Francisco, it's even worse. By the way, that's just a partial list. There are many more cities with this problem. That list is growing and it's becoming far more problematic. We recently saw a report that said 40% of the residents of San Francisco are planning to move imminently. 40%. That's almost half the city is preparing to leave Dodge. Think about that. The first question is, who's going to be left to pay any taxes? Because the last time we checked, the criminals and the drug addicts and the homeless aren't paying taxes. What they are doing is they're engaging in more criminal activity that is now rising to such levels that it is almost impossible to measure or calculate. Let me give you an example. Street thieves just don't break into a car anymore, like in San Francisco, for example. They don't just target one car. They will break into a dozen cars an hour and take everything and anything they can out of those cars. In the Midwest, for example, They're pulling up next to cars and stealing the catalytic converters in less than 5 minutes. In the old days, they used to steal car stereos and, that sort of thing. Now it's catalytic converters. The reason for that is that converters have an extremely high resale value, whether they're stolen or not. But for the poor owner who has to replace them, the cost can often be between $1,300 and $1,500. Now, the teams that steal them can steal as many as a dozen of these an hour. So you do the math. It's very lucrative for them. If they've got 4 or 5 guys in the team and they're just roaming the city, hitting one car after another, that is a tremendous amount of money. And do you know what else has occurred to these thieves and these crews? They realize that the criminal penalties for stealing a catalytic converter are a tiny fraction of the penalties for selling drugs. The penalties are negligible, especially since they will often have teenagers well below the age of 17 doing the stealing. And when you do that, then the criminal penalties get reduced even more. Right now is a great time to be in the window repair business in places like San Francisco, because there are so many car windows, business windows, and home windows being broken into every day that we doubt that these window repair businesses can even keep up with all of this activity. Next, you have street junkies using syringes as attack weapons when they rob people or tourists. Refuse to give them money and they'll poke you or stab you with a used syringe. Sometimes they'll just stab you randomly for no reason at all. They just may not, they just may not like the way you look as you're walking down the sidewalk past them. And since there are so many hundreds of heroin addicts sitting on the sidewalks in public, injecting themselves with heroin, whenever they need money, they just rob people by chasing them with a syringe. Next, we have large-scale car theft. There are so many cars being stolen so quickly and then moved out of the area by professionals that it's almost as though they never existed. We suspect they're being chopped up by local chop shops, or they're being loaded onto freighters and sent out of the country with fake documents within hours of being stolen. Another thing we're seeing is that while local police appear to be in no hurry to arrest serious criminals, they're still very eager to pull over soccer moms in their SUVs who are driving their children to practice and give them hundreds of dollars in traffic tickets just for driving a few miles over the speed limit. Another element of this CrimeVasion phenomena is that student crime in schools is exploding because some school systems are eliminating their in-school police or security officers. Apparently, some school districts have decided that it is more important not to offend some of the young criminals they have attending their schools that are robbing other students than it is to keep the other students safe and protected. So what do these morons do? They're eliminating the police and the security officers from the schools. Another challenge to all of this is that when there is no police protection or intervention or record of an incident, then in many circumstances, those crimes go unreported. That's important because it suggests that whenever crime statistics are published, the numbers we're seeing are more than likely well below the actual rates of crime that are taking place out there, but that are simply not reported. Now, there are numerous reports now that many countries in South and Central America are emptying their prisons and sending some of their worst criminals north across our border. If that's true, then we suspect the crime rate in the US is going to increase dramatically. And if that happens, then we expect the police departments in some underfunded cities to virtually collapse from the pressure and volume of all the criminal activity coming our way. So with that, I want to thank you for watching. I want to tell you that we're going to have more great celebrity interviews coming up and more breaking news stories in the future. So we encourage you to subscribe to our free channel and click on the notification bell so you can get notified every time we post a new story. Thank you, and we shall see you soon. Bye-bye.